Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to look at this. This is a Honda PCX150. As you know, I am a big fan of all sorts of motorcycles, from ST 1300s all the way to Ruckuses, and I want to talk to you in this video about this particular bike. I believe this is one of Honda's best motorcycles created for the masses. Look, I know that this is a scooter and a lot of people do not like scooters, but I am a big fan of them. Once you ride a scooter like this, you'll realize the benefits. This is what I consider the Goldilocks of motorcycle engines, the 150cc. It is perfect. Before we deep dive into the Honda PCX, let's talk about Honda scooters in general. Honda's been making scooters since the 1950s, and it produced reliable, user-friendly scooters that cater to diverse riders. In 1954, Honda made the Juno, and that was the first scooter that was featured with advanced technology like electric start, and it had a fairing for wind protection. It wasn't commercially successful due to its complexity. I personally find the Juno very interesting. It was Honda's first scooter, and it marked an ambitious leap into the scooter market during the 1950s. It was, at a time, very complex and very high cost. It posed challenges, but it laid the groundwork for Honda's future successes. And this Juno was a 4-stroke at a time of smaller 2-stroke engines. The Juno was also the first vehicle to feature a body made from fiber reinforced plastic, which was very new at the time. It also had an electric starter, full fairing, automatic clutch. It didn't sell well. It went from 1954 to 1958. And then, of course, Honda in 1958 made the Honda Super Cub, the C100. This technically not a scooter, but it is a step-through motorcycle. The Super Cub really blurred the lines between scooters and motorcycles, and it became the world's best-selling motorized vehicle, setting the stage for Honda scooter success. It was only in the 1980s when Honda really took off with their scooters. This was Honda's scooter boom. This included bikes such as the Honda Express, a small lightweight scooter aimed at beginner riders. And then they made the Honda Elite series that in the 1980s, known for its futuristic design and reliability. The Elite series helped popularize scooters in the US. And the Honda Spree. That was a compact, affordable scooter that became iconic in the US market. In the 1990s and 2000s, Honda made larger and more versatile models, like the Honda Helix. This was the first maxi scooter, offering a long-distance comfort and plenty of storage. And they made the Honda Metropolitan, the tiny retro-style 50cc scooter that appealed more to fashion-conscious urban riders. In the 2000s to present, Honda made more advanced and global models, such as the Honda SH series that's really popular in Europe but not so in the US. And I've had the SH150, great bike, but unfortunately with it only being available for 1 year in the US, I cannot recommend it. The Honda Ruckus, also known as the Zoomer, it was a completely different scooter that was bare bones and ready for modifications. And of course, the Honda PCX series. This was aimed at a global audience and it blended efficiency, style, and performance. Of all the history from Honda, Honda scooters have a couple of things that are consistent. It's reliability. Their scooters are known for lasting decades with minimal maintenance. Innovation. Honda introduced features like idle stop, fuel injection, and even hybrid powertrains before they became industry standards. By offering models at various price points, Honda ensures their scooters are accessible to riders worldwide. With the PCX150 and other models, Honda continues to lead the scooter market, blending innovation, practicality, and affordability for riders in urban and suburban environments. So when it comes to the PCX150, the PCX150 was introduced in 2013, and it was a fuel-efficient scooter aimed at urban commuters. It belongs to Honda's popular PCX series, which debuted in 2009 with a smaller PCX 125. The PCX 150 quickly gained popularity due to its practical size, ease of use, excellent fuel economy, making it a top choice for both beginners and inexperienced riders looking for an affordable and stylish mode of transportation. Some of the features that the PCX includes is the ESP, otherwise known as Enhanced Smart Power. The engine design maximizes efficiency while reducing friction and vibration. Hence the reason this scooter is silky smooth. Idle stop systems automatically shuts off the engine when idling to save fuel. A feature first introduced in the PCX 125 and carried forward to the PCX 150. US versions do not have this. It's got storage. The underseat storage is large enough for a full-size helmet and it caters to urban riders' needs. Over the years, the PCX 150 has seen upgrades, including a more aggressive modern look and LED lighting, ABS, and much more complete. The PCX also has a hybrid and even electric versions, but the PCX 150, the gas fuel injected bike, remains a staple for its balance of performance, economy, and affordability. The PCX was designed by Honda's global design team, with significant input from Honda's research and development centers in Thailand and Japan, hence the reason this bike is very popular there. It was crafted to meet the needs of the global market, blending European styling cues with Honda's engineering excellence. The PCX was primarily developed at Honda Research and Development in Southeast Asia, located in Thailand. This location played a key role because the PCX was initially aimed at the Southeast Asian market, where scooters are the primary mode of transportation. Over time, the design and engineering decisions made for the PCX allowed it to expand successfully into Europe, the United States, and other global markets. While many bikes cater to a particular market, the reason the PCX is so successful is that it's a global design that's engineered by Japan and it meets all the needs of a very diverse riders, from busy city commuters in Bangkok to casual riders in European capitals or even the United States. And a scooter that somehow punches above its weight. Now, sure, there are other fancier PCX models out there, but this is my PCX. I picked this up used, the previous owner crashed it, and I fixed it up. But after riding a bunch of other 150s, like the Elite 150, the SH 150, and a bunch more, this little one is the best, no contest. Let's start with style. The PCX 150 has that low rider look. It's got a low seat height, it's easy to get on and off, and a sleek design that says, yeah, I know I'm small, but I'm cooler than your average scooter. The plastic bodywork, it's available everywhere. And when you need a part, it's cheap. So no need to remortgage your house just to replace the busted side panel. And while it's a sporty little scooter, for something so small, it's surprisingly substantial. If you ever wanted to get bodywork for it, you can buy a whole set of bodywork for about $450 from Thailand. Those guys in Thailand are really into this bike, and for good reason. It's a tiny, budget friendly motorcycle in disguise. Let's talk about the engine. The 150 engine, in my opinion, is the sweet spot in scooters. I mean, you could go with a 50cc like the Honda Ruckas, and it feels like you're playing Russian roulette in traffic. Or you could go with a 600cc Honda Silverwing or Suzuki Bergman, and it feels like you're piloting a spaceship. But here's where the PCX 150 shines. It's the Goldilocks of scooters. Not too small, not too big, just right. The engine's perfect for everyday use. It's smooth, it's powerful enough to get you up to 60 miles an hour and 65 downhill without any trouble. and it doesn't lose power going uphill like many other bikes. The wheels are 14 inches. And I know, you might be thinking, 14 inches? That's tiny. Well, yes, compared to a motorcycle, it's tiny. But hear me out. Scooters with a 10 to 12-inch wheels are death traps for potholes. You hit a bump, and it's like playing Russian roulette with your spine. But the 14-inch wheels on the PCX 150 strike a perfect balance. They're big enough to handle the bumps without launching you into the stratosphere, but still small enough to keep that nimble scooter feel. And they're tubeless, so no dealing with the massive tubes when you get a flat. Honestly, a 14-inch wheel is just right for this type of bike. So let's talk about efficiency, shall we? The PCX gets about 105 miles to the gallon, which is amazing. I mean, it's not as crazy as a Super Cub or a Grom, but it's still impressive for a scooter with a CVT. Now, with the CVT, you're kind of stuck with a fixed ratio. So you don't get that gear shifting thrill and you cannot modify the ratio yourself. But you do get really good gas mileage. Even if you're riding like a maniac, you still get about 80 miles to the gallon. So while the bike isn't breaking any records for efficiency, it's definitely not a gas guzzler either. Brakes are fine. It's a PCX 150, it's a scooter, it's a budget scooter. So it does have a nice system, which is Honda's link braking system. And it's not mind blowing, but it works. And it's simple. When you hit the rear brake, it applies some braking to the front as well. So you get a more balanced stop. Now, here's a little fun little quirk. There's an extra brake reservoir hidden up front, which makes bleeding the brakes a little trickier than it needs to be. No ABS here, but the newer PCXs and the ADV 150 do come with front rolling ABS, which is a nice touch. But overall, the brakes get the job done without making you feel like you're going to fly off the handlebars every time you stop. Storage is another area where the PCX shines. The engine sits facing forward, which means you get a ton of underseat storage. You can easily fit the full size helmet in there, assuming your noggin is not the size of a small planet. Compared to older scooters like the Honda Elite 150 from the 80s and many from the 80s, which had the engine upright, taking up all that underseat space, it wouldn't work as well. It's great for maintenance having those old scooters, but terrible for practicality. Scooters are supposed to be practical, and the PCX delivers just throw your stuff under the seat and go. This Honda wasn't built in Japan, but it was built in beautiful Mexico. And honestly, the build quality is pretty darn good. My CRF 250 was also built in Mexico, and it's been solid, sure. Look, Japanese bikes are legendary for their quality, and I love getting bikes with the made in Japan designation on the VIN, but Mexican built PCXs hold up just fine. The Honda's attention to detail and reputation for reliability are evident, and that's why the scooter is a great option for anyone looking for a durable, well built ride. You're not going to get metal bodywork like in the Vespas, but you're going to get a good, solid fit and finish. Here's the part that gets me: the riding experience. It feels like you bought a much more expensive bike. The engine and transmission are smooth as silk, and the bike pulls from 0 to 60 without any hiccups. And unlike a lot of bikes, it doesn't lose power going uphill, which is honestly a game changer if you've ever ridden smaller scooters. Handling is fantastic, especially in corners. It feels peppy, nimble, and surprisingly agile for such a small scooter. Sure, the suspension could use some work. It's not the plushest ride, but for the price, it gets the job done. If I had more money, I'd upgrade the shocks and fork springs. But at this price point, I'm not really complaining. And I really appreciate the exposed handlebars. I don't get why some manufacturers hide them. It's like they've never tried to add a USB charger. The exposed bars make it super easy to mount whatever gadget you want. I've seen a lot of PCX owners, they tweak their bikes, but mainly in Asia. Over there, they're absolutely nuts for this bike. And in the US, it's more of a leisure scooter, and in Europe, it's the go-to food delivery bike. But in Thailand, for example, it's a daily rider and people go out with all mods. If you're into customization, this bike has plenty of options to make your own. As for competition, there's very few rivals, but none of them really stand out. The Yamaha S-Max 155, it's really the closest competitor. It's got a higher floorboard like the Zuma 125, and it feels like you're just riding a bike for midgets. Maybe you can compare it to the Vespa 150, way too expensive. The SH150 was only made for a year, and the Zuma 125 is more of an off-road bike. The ADV bike is also more of an off-road rugged bike, but it's taller and a little bulkier than the slim Svelte PCX. So when it comes to cost of ownership, gas is really not going to be your problem. The bike is reliable as they come. You'll pay a little bit more for the Honda name, but in the long run, it's worth it. You could get a cheaper Chinese bike like a Tank 200, but look, trust me, spend a little bit more now and you'll save in the long run. In construction, they say you pay twice for bad work, and that holds true for motorcycles as well. I've thought about who would buy this PCX and who the PCX is for. Well, in the American market, it's kind of small for scooters. And it's weird when it comes to scooters. People are too busy trying to look cool with their giant trucks or sport bikes to consider something like this. But if they could get past their egos, I think a lot of Americans would be into scooters. In Europe, the PCX is a favorite among food delivery guys. And in Thailand, it's the scooter to have. It's also a great bike for beginners or women riders who are shorter in stature. It's low, lightweight, and easy to handle. The PCX has a massive global community. There are groups, forums, social media pages where owners share tips, mods, and advice. So if you ever need help or want to connect with other PCX riders, you're in luck. Like any bike, the PCX is not perfect. It's got its little quirks. The CVT internals can be quite fragile, especially if you pick aftermarket parts. It's great for smooth riding, but when it wears out, you'll be replacing variators and belts more often than you'd like. But all those 14-inch tires aren't super common, so finding replacement rubber can be a pain. And if you ever need to do something like a valve adjustment, you have to be prepared to take off a lot of plastic. It's a bit of a hassle, but nothing that will ruin your day. Another con is the suspension. It's just budget suspension. It's not great, but you are paying for the great engine and transmission, not so much the suspension. The Honda 150 CVT bikes like the PCX are the Goldilocks of the scooter world. Not too small, not too big, just right. So if you're looking for a reliable, fun, practical, inexpensive scooter, the PCX 150 should definitely be on your radar. As we wrap up this video, remember that greatness often hides in plain sight. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments if you have ever ridden the legendary PCX 150 or whatever your favorite scooter is. Don't forget, hit like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more awesome bike content. Catch you next time.